I called this collection by Ito dessert for an unreasonable amount of time. I picked it up. I convinced myself that this collection was called dessert. Maybe I was craving some dessert at the time and kept calling it dessert, probably even in my wrap-up, until I realized what actually is deserter. It's deserter, Eva. It's not dessert. It reminded me of a time that I was very little, probably 8 years old. I was in Italy and Buffy the Vampire Slayer had just come on TV, and I convinced my cousin, 7 years old at the time, that we should watch it because Buffy, it's similar to the word in Italian buffo, which means funny, hilarious. So I said, well, her name is Buffy, this must be a comedy. And let's say we were in for a surprise that evening. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. My name is Eva and today I am recommending spooky, gothic, manga and graphic novels I particularly enjoyed that I've got in my collection that are perfect for Halloween season. Initially I thought I'm gonna put my favorite ones and then I'm gonna do honorable mention, but you know what, I'm not gonna do that. The fact that I went out of my way to purchase them and keep them in my collection, it's a testament enough that I did enjoy them quite a lot. Maybe not all of them I love to pieces, but all of them I like to reread now and then. And I think during spooky season, especially, you know, the last days of Halloween, on a rainy, cold night, under your cover, with a candle on and music in the background, those are perfect reads. I have divided them, so we'll start with the manga and then I will do the graphic novels next. And yeah, without further ado, that's my list of what I would recommend you to read during spooky season. Let's start with a bloody bang. Magical Girl Apocalypse. I can testify only to the first 3 volumes because I was never able to get my hands on the 4th volume onward. I am still on the chase for them, so if you have an idea where I can purchase them for a reasonable price, and with reasonable I mean I don't have to sell my kidney to afford it, please let me know, because I really enjoy the first 3 volumes. And this is about this boy. He finds school quite dull. Life is boring, nothing much happens until one day while he's in class, a little girl appears. She looks quite odd. She's dressed as a sort of like doll, Lolita doll. And this girl, weird girl, enters the school and starts to butcher and slay everyone who crosses her path while singing a jingle that is only one word repeated over and over again, magical. And it gets so bloody after that. I remember this being fun, but also what was going on. I wanted to find out what's gonna happen. I hope and predict is I'm gonna try and get my hands on the rest of the series and then reread it because, well, it's been quite a while since I read this. But yeah, I was entertained and it was gruesome. The next one is more like creepy but between the lines. I read this as part of my challenge on reading the 10 most disturbing manga ever written, and I'll link that challenge down below if it's still on my channel. I believe it is. And I came across this, and although I can't say it's the most disturbing thing I've ever read, it's quite eerie at times, and I remember really enjoying it. And this is Doll. As when I purchased it, look, it has extremely rare cover because I purchased this secondhand on Amazon. And now Dolls is about these dolls that are being artificially created to look like humans, and they're being then employed usually by rich people who could afford them, and they all have something slightly off. And you follow the families that have adopted these dolls, but also the dolls that are not as compliant as you might think they are initially. And I really enjoyed the art, but I also really enjoyed the short stories. They were quite complex. Look at these at the beginning. I have to show you this because I love this page quite a lot. Aha, it becomes a skeleton. How cool is that? Again, it's another one that I could not get my hands on the rest of the volumes for a price that did not demand an organ in return. If you have an idea where I can look up for them, please, please, please leave them in the comments down below. The next one is a standalone. I had a lot of fun with these. It's quite chunky, but again, it's self-contained, and it's based on an urban legend. It's about this small, dressed like a Lolita girl. Again, it's a bit of a theme in horror Japanese manga, I've noticed. But this girl appears near a local garbage disposal site to men, and she asks this man that she comes across, do you want a little sister? And depends on what the answer, their fate is sealed. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. I really like the art in these. I think I really enjoy the art, and I should check out more by these mangaka. I never did, I believe, but yeah, a lot of fun, and it's self-contained, which for some, that's for best, so you don't have to like purchase a million volumes. And the next one is indeed a series. At the moment, translated in English, there are only 5 omnibus, but each one of the omnibus contains 3 volumes. In Japan, they've gone ahead and published more. They have not been translated, and I do not know if I ever will. However, this is the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service, and again, this is something that I came across through the same challenges of reading the most disturbing manga ever written. This is definitely not that disturbing. Personally, didn't find it disturbing, but I found it so cool as a concept. You follow a sort of Scooby-Doo gang, but these are a bunch of kids. They're attending university. They're very much down their luck with no money, but they all have powers linked to the occult, in the sense that some of them can perceive where a dead body lays, some of them can speak with a dead body, some can see, the last moments of a dead body, if I remember correctly. So they all have kind of paranormal powers that in itself would be quite useless, but they decide to make something out of those powers. So they decide to form a delivery service for dead bodies. So they go hunt for dead bodies and try to reunite them, the bodies, with their family, or give them justice. And it's episodic, so every volume or so you follow a different case or whether. So after a while, because I don't love episodic stuff, I took a bit more my time with the latter volumes, but to be fair, each case is quite entertaining. I believe it's actually episodic in the sense that it's every volume you follow a case, so it's not like every chapter, or a mix of both. To be fair, quite hilarious as well. And some of the concepts around here, around death and justice and revenge, I found it quite brilliant and very interesting topics to explore. It allowed at times for me to sit back and ponder on questions about existence, life and death, and I found that quite inspiring, when someone thinks something like a media like this or comic can make me think about bigger questions about my own existence. I really appreciated it, and I had a lot of fun, and these characters really, really stuck with me. So I hope they will translate more, because I will be picking that up if I do. And the last manga is Ito, right? Of course, as you can see, I've butchered my Ito shelf just to carry some, but I thought, of course, there are the very popular ones. I enjoyed thus far all of the work by Ito that I've read. I'm not the biggest fan of his endings though. However, there is a solution to that, and also a solution for if you don't want to read like a massive tome like Tomi or whatever it is. I particularly enjoy of Ito the short story collection. One is what I mentioned at the beginning, Deserter, and this is the last one I've read by him. I'm just going to show you the art of this, because to be fair, the art of Ito is exactly the same, as many other mangaka, of course, so it's a very, when you see it, you know that's him. So this is a collection of short story. I also really enjoyed a collection of short story, both Smashed by him and Shiver I really loved. So all of those 3 I would strongly suggest, and also they are a collection of short stories, so you can read them, one story a night. Every issue is a story in itself, so it's self-contained. You can put it down and read it in bits and bobs here and there. So I think those are great for Halloween season. But if you want actually a standalone but full manga about one story only, I would really strongly suggest Junji Ito, No Longer Human. Now, I've read the novel that inspired this. This is about this man, and this man, although he's always been considered the class clown, the funny guy in the family, inside he feels very cold and detached from anyone. He does not have emotion or empathy. He's faking it in order to fit in, and it's the unraveling of his psyche and the unraveling of him and his life when he can't kind of put up the pretense anymore. And the novel I didn't particularly enjoy, although I appreciated for, it's a novel that in a sense was semi-autobiographical. The author was struggling through a lot of mental health issues and eventually had a tragic death. So I appreciated the novel as a introspection of someone who was struggling, and so it allowed me, to to see some of his internal struggles. But I loved the manga. I love the manga. It's one of a few Ito where the end was perfect. From start to finish, No Longer Human by Ito is probably at this moment in time is my favorite Ito. I've read together with the short story collection. This is a stunning volume, and well, I mean, I don't need to show you the art, it's the same, but look at this. Like, I love this. When I found this in a comic book store, I was like, well, that's mine, it's coming home with me, I'm not letting that one go, and it was the only one left. I need to switch on the light, don't I? Before I do so, this is one of my favorite Funko Pop ever. It's from Tomi by Ito. She does not stand on her stand, which is quite frustrating, but I love it so much. Love it so much. Stay there. Well, I'll figure it out later. Let me switch on the light so you can actually see the books properly. I'm gonna go quickly because I have got a lot to show you. I've got, I mean, horror, gothic comics are my favorite, as they are like genre in terms of both comics and books, to be fair. So together with fantasy, and especially with comics, though, I tend to steer more toward the spooky, grim dark stuff or horror stuff. Anyway, iZombie, 6 volumes, graphic novel, and this is about Gwen. Gwen, she's trying, you know, to live a normal life, keep up a job, find the love of her life, spend time with friends and family. The issue is that she is a zombie. So during the day, she digs graves for her job, but at night she digs them in order to eat brains, because she needs to eat brains in order to maintain the facade of being semi-alive. And yeah, it's hilarious, but also it's very adventurous, and I really enjoyed it. It looks like a 80s TV show in a sense, like Scooby-Doo vibes going on, and again, it's just 6 volumes, you can really read them in a couple of days. I did a video of my favorite comics, and so a couple of those titles are also featured in that video, but also that video features more grim dark fantasy stuff, which I've not included in here. Like, I've not put Berserk in, even if it's perfect for every season, all the time, everywhere, forever, but I thought I want to really focus on more like the horrific, gothic, bloody stuff. Well, Berserk's quite bloody. Anyway, Nailbiter, 6 volumes total. This reminded me a bit of a premise of Hannibal, the movie, and well, of course the book as well, but it's the idea of you got an FBI agent that needs to go to this town, Bokaru, in Oregon. Is it Oregon? Yeah, Oregon, who has birthed 16 of the most infamous serial killer that USA had ever seen, and our FBI agent has to team up with Nailbiter, one of his 16th serial killers, in order to find a colleague of her that has disappeared after entering the town to try and investigate a string of murders or disappearance, I believe. So you got that connection between, you know, the serial killer and the FBI agent trying to resolve a case, and it's so good. Nailbiter is so good. It's kind of like, I remember my first days on booktube, I came across this and never looked back, so it's not been around anymore. Like, I've probably published in 2015 or something like that, but trust me, this is one that if you are into this kind of thriller, bloody, investigative, like, this is so good. I love Nailbiter, and again, it's only 6 volumes. Another one that it's more gothic, I would say. It has definitely elements of horror, but it's a more gothic atmospheric, is Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly is, every volume is a different story, but there is an overarching plot or connection. I would say connection would be best said. This has been described as a mix of The Sandman and Preacher, which are both series that I have. Overall, Preacher is one of my favorite series ever, which are series that I both consumed all. And yes, I would definitely agree that there is a mix of these. It's like Sandman but Western, which is when the Preacher element comes in. And it's very difficult to give you a synopsis because it's almost like reading a gothic Western grim dark legend playing out. I'll show you some of the art. Pretty Deadly is, I was obsessed with Pretty Deadly when I first read it. Like, obsessed with it. It was probably the best thing I've read that year whenever I read it. I don't know if you can see the art properly, but I hope you can. and I was obsessed with it. And it's one that I think you need to go into completely blind. It doesn't probably work for everyone, but I found the dialogue, so the way it's the script and the art and the atmosphere that they create is simply perfect. Another one that was featured in my ultimate favorite graphic novels is Revival. Revival is a bigger series, a lengthier series than Nailbiter. I think we stand on volume 8 with this one, or a bit like that. Revival is so good. The premise of Revival is that one day in Wisconsin, in this town, everyone who died on that day came back to life. It's only people that died on that day, and now they are back. They are back. They seem like their old self, but are they really? And why did they come back to life? And you follow a detective, a police officer in this small town, trying to deal with a lot of people that are wary and put off by, you know, the dead coming back to life, but also trying to help those guys that come back to life to sort themselves out and their life again. And it keeps the tension so well. It's one of those, I would say, that has a bit of vibes as Fargo. I have the TV show and the movie. It's that kind of very cold country, very atmospheric and very subtle, and yet so eerie things happening throughout. I'll show you some of the art of Revival. Love Revival. Revival, Nailbiter as well, but Revival, for example, is one of those series that every time I come across it in the hallway, I still remember the good times I had sitting down with this and finding out what happened. Now you can binge read this series, and I envy you for that, because I think I had to wait for one volume to come out or something. And just, I wanna sometimes go back in time and relive the experience because it was that good. Now the next one is something that I need to continue on. I never continue on past volume 1 because I enjoyed volume 1, but I want to reread it and then move on because I enjoyed it, didn't love it to pieces. And this is The Nice House on the Lake. And the premise of this, which has an awesome cover. Sorry, the Latin is not the best, but the cover is awesome. Also, there is a kid crying in the street, and it's very bloody loud. A bunch of people are invited by Walter, a man who they all kind of know. It's this acquaintance that they have, but they don't really have a strong connection with him. But when he invites them to his retrieve, to his house on the lake, this magnificent villa, to just have a time off, on a getaway, to relax, they can't say no. And they all meet in this house, and Walter, they knew he had something weird, but they didn't know how weird until they get to the house. And this is something that I would say, and I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but I think it might be actually beneficial for people to know. This is less like haunted house horror, it's more sci-fi. Like, it's a sci-fi horror. And I think if I knew that, maybe I would have got into this with the right state of mind. Instead, I didn't know, so I was quite surprised. And at a moment I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm enjoying this particular, yes or no, but I never got rid of it. And actually I am planning to try volume 2. So if you continue on with this series, let me know what you thought and so on. I absolutely adore this art, but the art actually, ooh, where it's going, but the art is actually this. So yeah, we'll probably continue reading this. The next one I really enjoyed a lot, and at the moment that I am aware of, it's a complete series. I don't know if I'm gonna publish more, but Something is Killing the Children. This is my omnibus. It says book number 1, so I'm assuming that sooner or later they will publish more of it. Okay, so this is the art. It's quite heavy, sorry guys. And it's quite big, but I love the omnibus when they're like hardcover omnibus like this. So it is marked on Goodreads as ongoing, so I really have hopes that maybe they went ahead after this. To be fair, I need to kind of find more people that share comics reviews, because I used to follow a lot, and then I didn't for a few months to a few years, and now I follow a lot of booktubers that recommend books, but not that many graphic novels or manga. So if you have any recommendations, if you yourself do, you know, make videos about comics, or if you know you got favorite ones, for example, that you follow, leave their channel name down below so I can go and follow them as well, and I can kind of get new recommendations, because I feel like these days I'm missing those recommendations that I used to have more of. But anyway, tangent to say, this is considered like ongoing, so I hope they continued on. And this is about kids going missing. Some never turn up again, some come back with very eerie, spooky stories about these monsters in the woods. And the adults really do not believe them until Erica Slaughter comes to town, and she believes the kids, and she has the task of actually killing these monsters in the woods, because if not her, who else? And from the art to the plot and the mystery, this was a big win for me, and I would strongly suggest Something is Killing the Children. The next one is for those who want something very light and funny and with not much dialogue in it. It's mostly art, and this is Lenore, and it's Roman Dirge's Lenore. There are 3 volumes that I'm aware of that I could get my hands on, and I adore Lenore. Lenore, you follow this girl. She is a zombie. She's absolutely dead, and she gets up to no good. And there are quirky, odd characters in it. She gets on these adventures. It's all black and white. Again, it's something also like for kids or like teens that could appreciate. It's more like of a funny, light-hearted, very quick read side. But I enjoy Lenore. I had fun. It's just perfect for Halloween with a bit of a spooky music, a bit more like childish, almost like it was kind of like children's songs in the background, Halloween children's songs. This is perfect if you can put yourself in the mindset. And sometimes we just need something that's so light and funny to read, quite hilarious, like dark humor, I would say. Now the next one is very important, and it's Hellboy, specifically The Crooked Man. Now Hellboy is amazing. I am waiting so I can purchase and keep Hellboy, my Hellboy collection, in the library editions, which are extremely expensive. So at the moment I'm not able to purchase them for myself, but I will go back to, hopefully they're not out of print by the time I can afford them again. But I've collected 4 volumes of this edition, and The Crooked Man by Hellboy is one of my favorite of his sagas. So I'm gonna try and show you, but I don't want to ruin the book because they're quite expensive, as I said, and precious. The Crooked Man, it's my favorite. It's my favorite among favorite to begin with. Like, I'm obsessed with Hellboy. I love Hellboy. It's one of my favorite comics and graphic novels ever. And yet The Crooked Man is a perfect read. Even if you don't want to delve into the whole Hellboy world, which you should, but if you don't want to, The Crooked Man, just try that out. Or if you don't know about Hellboy, you want to give it a try The Crooked Man. Crooked Man, they also did a movie. I did not watch the movie. Is it any good? If you have watched it, let me know. But The Crooked Man, Hellboy travels to Appalachia to investigate the Crooked Man, this evil spirit sent by the devil actually to collect souls. And when he gets there, there's a community of witches and very creepy things all over the place. Love The Crooked Man. Love The Crooked Man. And Hellboy in general. Lock and Key. It's 3 volumes in these special editions. If not, I think there are 6 volumes. This is a graphic novel by the son of Stephen King, which someone would argue, well, it's a big CV. It's a good CV, right? And it's about this bunch of kids and their mother who move back to the family home, this Victorian massive mansion that they left. The parents, their dad, left, and then he married, had the kids, and now the family has to move back in because they're very much down their luck after their father was killed in a horrific mugging. I don't remember exactly if it was a mugging or something, but he met a violent death. And the kids and the mother moved back in the house, the father's house that he inherited from his family. The thing is that this house has some odd keys laying around, and these keys come with magic powers. And there is a well on this property, and there is a creature in the well. I'm just gonna leave it at that because there is a TV show which I enjoyed enough, never finished watching the 3rd season. I think the graphic novels is so much better overall than the TV show, despite the TV show being okay. I think it was quite creative, but all the adventures that these kids get into and the subtle presence of this evil entity throughout the story and the challenges that they face and the peril they encounter along the way, they were so entertaining. It gets spooky. The art is great. The art is great. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's bloody. It gets bloody. Just a quick look. It gets bloody. And it's 6 volumes, so it's not too bad. You can potentially binge read this one as well in a few days. The next stack, it's composed mostly of standalone graphic novels. But I'm gonna cheat a bit and mention illustrated books, which are not technical graphic novels, but also they are so heavy when it comes down to the drawings that they're basically almost all graphic novels. And I've got here Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Mystery and Madness, illustrated by Gris Grimly, and The Telltale Heart and Other Stories. The concept is the same, so I'm gonna hold on just to one, and these are Edgar Allan Poe's stories with Gris Grimly art. He also wrote a version of Dracula with his art, which I am obsessed with. I love his illustrations. Gris Grimly is one of those illustrators that when I know that he wrote a book or done something, if I can afford it, I will go and purchase it. So if you want to read Poe and add creepy, amazing art, those two can come to your rescue. This is by, actually she's on booktube, and it's Jen Campbell, and she was talking about publishing these in one of her videos, so I grabbed it, read it, and absolutely loved it. This is The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers and Other Gruesome Tales. So it's short stories, they're all spooky and horrific. They can be read by kids as well, so you can read them with your kids, or you know, you can pass them to kids, and they're very spooky. The art is great and the stories are amazing. I really had a fun time with this. This is actually still, it's not a graphic novel, it's like an illustrated book. And yeah, it's full of short, creepy stories. And I loved it. I love also the cover and everything. All the stories were a win for me. I really enjoyed these, and I binge read these on an Halloween night a couple of years ago. I'm done with stories. Next we have Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. I think well, of course he did the text, she did the illustrations. Let me show you some of the illustrations. This is a retelling of Snow White. And it's a creepy retelling of Snow White with absolutely stunning art. Now I debated to put on this list the Sandman as well. However, I think it's one of those series that's so long that it will require you to read it more than just Halloween, and it's dark fantasy, but it's almost philosophical. I just thought like the complexities of the Sandman, for how much I appreciated it, I don't know, it just didn't feel right for this video today. But The Sandman by Neil Gaiman, it's definitely a grim, dark fantasy horror series. But I decided to just put this standalone by him. Snow White is not one of my favorite stories ever. This is my favorite version of Snow White I've ever read. Just saying. Then I have the next category. I would say it's mostly like art-wise. That caught my eye. Maybe the story is not the best, but art-wise, they're still so worth your time. This is, first of all, Ravina the Witch, by Junko Mizuno. I've got another book by her. She has a very peculiar art style that personally I love. And this is the story of this witch. And you follow the adventures of this witch. It's a very short one. It's one of those that you purchase to mainly enjoy the quirky, stunning style of the artist, more than the story. But the story is fun, and there is a bit more, it's like, you know, it's a witch that it's facing some trouble. It's facing some troubles, and you get this stunning, breathtaking art. And just the art, it's so creepy and so perfect for the season. Speaking of very creepy and stunning art, I've got Alberto Breccia's Dracula. This is quite old as a novel. This is a satire and a revisitation of Dracula. It's a collection of short stories where you follow Dracula, who's having no luck to find victims. And the author wrote these during the Argentinian military dictatorship, so there is a social comment that comes with it, but it's masked or it's embedded within, you know, this retelling of this famous story, but with a spin of having Dracula, who is this guy who's so unfortunate. And the art style I found stunning. Like, look at this panel. I had such a good time just sitting down one evening in October a couple of years ago and just go through these, trying to really appreciate panel by panel, and I had the best of times. Sometimes a comic, it's just that, it's just illustrations that tell your story without many dialogues in it. This was perfect for it, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Another one with stunning art, Dracula motherfucker. So look at the art first of all. And it's a retelling of Dracula, but it takes place in Los Angeles, I believe. Yes, Los Angeles in 1974, after the brides of Dracula have, at the beginning of the story, nailed Dracula at the bottom of the ocean. This was end of the last century, but now something is happening again, and you follow Jonathan Archer having to put together pieces of his puzzle, what's happening, and are the brides who are still alive gonna help him or not. Just in any unravels from there. I think, again, this is one that I appreciated the art so much. The story was cool, but I loved the art more than anything else. And yeah, it's a quick one, standalone as of now for what I'm aware of. It wasn't probably a 5 stars. The plot in itself is more like a 3.5 stars, but the art style pumped this up at least to a good 4. And again, at times I do need to read a comic and appreciate it for its art and what the art is communicating, and these fit the bill perfectly. Another one that I didn't love the plot, but I was in awe of the art style, and again the plot might work very well for someone else, is Water Snakes. It's massive. This is the cover. And this is about this girl. She's having a boring summer, nothing much happens until one day she meets this adventurous girl that turns out to be a ghost. And it's a ghost carrying inside the ancient presence of a king who's full of teeth, and he is out for blood. Look, just look at the art inside. I'll show you some of it. I'll show you some. Like, just the first page. You just don't need to see anything else. I'm quite generous, so I'm gonna show you a couple of more pages. Such a stunning art style. The art style at certain moments of the year, with in certain lights, in certain atmosphere, they just play a magic trick on my mind, at least on mine, but I hope they do the same for you. I can't in all good conscience do a video like this and not mention Emily Carroll's work. Through the Woods is one of my first graphic novels ever, especially in the genre of horror. It's a collection of short stories by Emily Carroll, and Carroll, that came out weird. Carroll, I am obsessed with her art. Obsessed with her art. And I remember, like, I bent this book for how many times I read it. That's, you know, that's how it worked. I adored these from start to finish. Every single panel, every single drawing, just the cover, guys. Look at the cover. Obsessed with that. So I did read Nimona, but I would say for Halloween, Through the Woods, and also When I Arrived at the Castle. I would prefer between the two Through the Woods, but this is another very good one. Super short, and this is about a woman entering a castle, and inside there is another woman. And this woman might or might not, we don't know, be drinking blood. This is very sensual, and it's these two women, these two strangers getting to know each other, and one of them has a dark secret, or only one of them, we don't know. Now, the last two are so good, so good. I would say, first of all, The Me You Love in the Dark. The Me You Love in the Dark is one of my favorite graphic novels ever. Like, I can't stress enough how good this is. I think it's a standalone of a series called Middle West, so it's probably in the same world as Middle West, and it's from the same illustrator and creator that did I Hate Fairyland, Scott Young, obsessed with his art. And this is about this hunted artist who retrieves to this old house that she managed to get her hands on for quite cheap. She decides to retrieve there to find herself again and find inspiration to create art again. And once she's in this house is haunted, and yet she's able to find inspiration. And it's very difficult for me not to spoil this, not to say anything that could be considered a spoiler, but this explores, this mingles the haunted house trope with also the, you know, this depicting and illustrating how coercive control relationships work. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was absolutely brilliant. If I could give this 10 stars, I would give it 10 stars. It's one of my favorite standalone graphic novels ever. I'm obsessed with these. And the last one I have, I think it's so perfect for Halloween. It's Lip Hook. Lip Hook, it's about a woman, a stunning, beautiful woman, and a man with a gunshot. And a man on a bloody back.
A few moments later.
A man with a gunshot wound and a suitcase full of treasure arrive in Lip Hook, this small city, rural city in the British Islands that is isolated to the point that the rural people that live locally there, they do not know of anything else because the town is surrounded by this fog and they have never left the town. So usually people, very rarely when they arrive in town, do they get out? Question mark. And so you have the rural local people trying to engage with these newcomers who have come in. Clearly there is something going on with them, clearly they were up to something, but also the rural people decide to take the, you know, the strangers not in the right way, let's say, and it just spirals down. And I think what I loved about these, it's as much the plot as, to be fair, the absolutely stunning art. This is one I'm gonna reread this month, if I can. If I don't quote me on this, because I might not be able to, but if I am able to, this is the one I'm gonna reread. When it's toward the end of the month, this is what I'm gonna pick up and reread, because it's just the perfect vibe for Halloween. The art is just so creepy. Such a creepy art. Love this. Love these, all of those I showed you today. Such good time with any of those. Leave your recommendations down below because I've exhausted my, you know, known titles. I don't know where to go next. I would love to explore more gothic, spooky comics or standalone graphic novels or graphic novel series. Let me know what are your recommendations in the comments down below. If you're new, I would love for you to join the small community, stay, chat with me in the comments down below, leave your recommendations, they're always welcome. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Ciao!